what to put in your pitch deck. I'm going to walk through how to design or plan your pitch deck and then to outline it for the most effective pitch deck creation process. And let me just start off by saying that if you look at the graphic on the left from CB Insights, and I always start with this, I tell founders that no matter what, no matter how slick your pitch deck, it will not fix these problems. These are the top reasons startups fail. And the reason I start with this is because I often worry that founders get into a situation like, oh, I need money, therefore I need to put a pitch deck together. That's not how it's going to work. There are a lot of fundamental needs that you have to fulfill before you have anything that you can put in your pitch deck that's going to raise you money. So for example, many founders will go out and just create a pitch deck and they haven't validated the market need. So that's the next reason that startups fail here. And so you'd be better off actually spending your energy validating your idea, validating the market need, understanding your target market, their underserved needs, and your unique value proposition. So your pitch deck is only going to be a reflection of how you address each of these here on this list. And what's good about it actually is you'll often find out after pitching that your startup is non-investable. And that's just a reality. And that's okay, because that's feedback and you can continue to go and refine your startup and make all the necessary changes, pivots, if you will, if you need to, so that you can put great things in your pitch deck, get those meetings and get that funding in. So don't be deterred if you get the negative feedback, but at the same time, understand that a pitch deck is not some type of silver bullet. If your startup has some serious risks or there are reasons that investors would not invest, does not matter how fancy your pitch deck is. So with that warning or that disclaimer, if you will, let's proceed ahead. You have to understand that there are stages in which fundraising goes. And if you look at this graphic, care of Thomas Tungas, I'm sorry if I butchered that name. He's a venture capitalist at Redpoint. I really like his graphic that he created. If you look at the number of companies met, you see that there's a large number of companies that are met here. And that's what's called the screening stage. And so then less and less companies are met as you get to socialization, diligence, and then decision. What I always say is put whatever you need in your pitch deck to get you to the next step. So let's talk about these steps here. So in the beginning, when you are starting off right here, and you are adding to all the companies that contact a venture capitalist like Thomas, I think I pronounced that correctly, then you're going to try and catch their attention with an outreach. And if it's not a warm introduction, it's going to be a cold outreach. And that's hard enough as it is. So you want a deck that will assist you at the screening stage. So it's what I call a screener deck or a teaser deck. But then guess what? What happens is, say they want a meeting, your screener deck, well, you're going to have to probably present something a little more to get to socialization. And then when you get to socialization, they're probably going to want to see some more materials, and you'll have other decks. For example, a pitch deck with your financial model, which usually happens at the socialization stage after they've said, oh, I like your problem, solution, looks like you got traction, etc. Due diligence, they may ask you to do presentations. I've been in situations where they said, we have these due diligence questions. We'd like you to do a presentation addressing each of these questions. And meanwhile, they're looking at all your accounting and your legal and your cap table and minute book, etc. And then you make a decision. So you may have, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4 your pitch decks all together, and then pitch decks depending upon industry, depending upon the funding stage, if you're talking to an angel, etc., a technical person, multiple pitch decks, put in whatever you need in your pitch deck to get you to the next step. That's how this works. So let's take a look at how we approach pitch decks, or how I particularly like to approach pitch decks when it comes to the Fundable Accelerator. Over here on this side, our good friends at SlideBean, they're really good at gathering this data. What they've done is they've looked at all these different startups here, and they talk about what they want in terms of the VCs, what they want in your pitch deck, as well as successful startups, and give you an example. So you've got 500 startups. This is what they want in their pitch deck. Guy Kawasaki, Sequoia, NextView, Crowdfunder, and the Airbnb pitch deck, and you'll start to see the differences. So what's important is that there are certain must-haves in your pitch deck that are common across all the VCs as well as successful companies. So these are in bold. And some of them are optional, and you can see some care and some don't. For example, I find it really interesting. NextView Ventures is the one that wants the executive summary. I've never put an executive summary in a pitch deck, but if I was applying to NextView Ventures, okay, I'm going to put an executive summary, right? And again, this is where your pitch deck is not your business plan. I know people put their business plan in the pitch deck, or they turn their executive summary in a pitch deck. This is not it. This is a screener deck to get you a meeting so you can actually pitch these VCs or these institutions. Now, let me just be super clear. If you are in a pre-seed round, which is typically done by friends, family, and associates, they may ask you for a whole other different things. They may ask you flat out for a business plan. If you're going a different type of funding source, we're not going to take care of that in this presentation, but I have other workshops that I've done that prepare you for pre-seed, friends, family, and associates. So just be prepared. Friends, family, associates, those that aren't, established startup funding sources may ask you for all types of wonky things, and go do it. Go get the money. But these are established companies that have to look through literally hundreds of pitch decks, probably hundreds of queries, contacts per month or even week. I look at a lot of pitch decks every day, and I'm not even doing this full time. So let's take a look at the pitch deck that I like to create. And I like a 11 slide deck. It's actually 9 slides if you don't count the cover and the contact information in the back, or 10 slides with the cover. Now, remember, your situation might be a little different. And so you might want to be trying some of these other, like the underlying magic slide. Sometimes that's not always necessary. Sometimes it is. And sometimes it's going to help you to get to the next stage, but sometimes it doesn't. And so you want, as an efficient teaser, you want to give them the sample to say, hey, I want to pick up the phone and call this individual because I want more information. So you just got to give them a teaser. So here are the slides that I like to have. And I always build. So cover with a one-liner, no marketing fluff or jargon. So what I mean is, if you have a startup and it's like transforming the way people do business in the metaverse, and transforming humanity and elevating consciousness to the metaverse, means nothing to the investor. In fact, to be straightforward, my brain sort of starts to tune out right away. And if you talk to angels or different people who have to scrub pitch decks all the time, I usually take 2 minutes. I have others that say, 5 minutes, etc. Others I know 30 seconds. They're just looking for a reason to eliminate it. And so you don't want to go in with the marketing fluff or jargon. You just want to be very straightforward and say, a platform that helps these types of users achieve this goal. Just very straightforward, something like that. A good solid one-liner that explains the company, what the company does, so that the investor can immediately start to categorize or catalog, okay, where does this startup fit into what I'm looking for? And are we getting close to my investment thesis? All investors have an investment thesis, whether it's really formalized or not, and they're looking for signals to fit the investment thesis or to eliminate, to disqualify you from their investment thesis. And you want to get to that point. You want to get to know as soon as possible. I know founders, they get in with these angels or smaller funds, and there's so much tire kicking. There's so much due diligence at a pre-seed, seed level. And it's like, okay, they're just making you jump through all these hoops. It is a colossal waste of time. And it usually ends up with a no. Unless you, through that process, you wow them with some new milestone or traction. They're usually kicking the tires and making you do this due diligence because it's a no, but they're kind of like a yes. It's just a big fat waste of time. So cover with the one-liner: problem, solution, straightforward, market opportunity, why now, how it works, biz model, how you make money, competition and differentiation, team, traction. Okay, traction, if company's doing really well, I may move it up right after the solution. I may put it in here. So it's flexible. And then the investment opportunity. So that's just straightforward. And remember, this is the screener deck that in my outreach email, I say, hey, if you want to look at my pitch deck. So the outreach email or the message usually does the pitching. And we will teach you how to do that. Don't worry. But take a look at my pitch deck if you want to see it. Or if you have an opportunity to do a flash pitch, like a 5-minute, then this is the pitch deck that you use. And that's how it works. Now, let me just say that this pitch deck is the screener deck, easily can be expanded by adding these into the deck that you actually present. So for example, I advise against too many screenshots, too much UX. It's too early at a screener stage. That looks like 4x, too much UX. So from an investment standpoint, I do not care. You don't have to give me 20 screenshots that you got. Okay, you built something, that's great. Just show me something of an actual GUI of the UX, and then just move on. Like, let me just qualify this so I can pick up the phone, because the next call, when I get you on the phone, I may ask you to show me your product, give me a demo, or show me some more screenshots, or what does the back end look like, the administrative panel look like. That's later. First, the investor wants to know, do you get into the ballpark of their investment thesis with the problem solution? Is the market opportunity, big enough right now, etc. Okay. In market opportunity, I may go Tam Sam Som in here. Again, it all depends. So it's fluid, and I actually enjoy doing pitch decks because it's kind of like a puzzle on what puzzle pieces should I use to simplify this down and to get it as effective as possible. So that's sort of the screening stage formats that I like to use. Now, here's the thing. All investors are different. No two investors are alike, or institutions or sources of capital. Take a look at Andreessen Horowitz. This is what they've told us. This isn't something that I just make up to put in this video to make you do pitch decks a certain way. This is what they actually look for. Now, Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z, they are serious. Like, they are the big fish. They're at the top of the food chain pretty much. And if you even think about it, Y Combinator, they don't even let you, you don't even send in your pitch deck. They make you fill out their application, right? You don't give them a pitch deck because they realize that pitch decks don't communicate what they need to make decisions very quickly. Same with Andreessen Horowitz, but the slide deck is very straightforward. Now, this will say a lot. They just want pain points, user pain points, so problem, and then they want to know your solution and if you have product market fit. So if you don't have product market fit, don't apply to Andreessen Horowitz, A16Z. You don't apply to their funds, right? And so if they want to know this TAM is in the billions because that's the level that they play, etc. And then they want the rest of this information, but this is their pitch deck. So what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 slides. 7 slides. And then they want information communicated and check out all the different things, information they want about the founders, etc. So that's important to understand that not every funding source that you're going to be pitching is going to be the same. And that's the reason, get ready to do multiple types of pitch decks. It's just how it works. So how do we go about creating these pitch decks? Here's my advice. Get used to outlining. Do outlines first, just in text, and start off with one statement max per slide. So your problem statement should fit into one statement. And this is where, you know, I've misconstrued the words. I mixed up the words. Sometimes they use the word headline. And then what happens is founders, they create a headline and they'll ask a question. Like it's actually like they're in a sales presentation. Like, you know, why are so many people, you know, not using this? Or, you know, why are so many users, these types of users, really bad at that? And then they go into their statement. Don't do that. Okay. And I would just, you know, don't put problem as your big headline either. The word problem, some people put it in big fonts. This is the problem. Like that's going to be more important. No, put your one statement as big as possible and make it one per slide. And if you can't communicate everything you need to in that one statement, then guess what? You probably don't have it nailed down and refined. And then what I do is I only add bullets if the statement stands alone. So I don't add bullets to make more sense of my statement. The slide should work with the bullets or without the bullets. This is how I like to outline. Now, obviously, later on, you may have to start adding bullets, like if you're referencing things, etc. But I make sure the statement stands alone. Challenge yourself, treat it like an MVP, minimum viable pitch, right? See if you can really hone it down and get it down in, you know, those 10 slides. I give myself maximum slide. And the final thing is get advice from non-technical rich people. And I call it the rich mom test. A lot of people say, okay, it's the mom test, but I found it helps me to get feedback from rich people, people who actually can invest, people who just have no funds to invest. And that's the reason. So I've done some investments. And so my advice actually holds more credibility and weight because I've had to look through a bunch of pitch decks and I've actually pulled the trigger on investing in companies. So getting advice from non-technical rich people. And the other thing is non-technical. The reason I say non-technical is because this will allow you to test whether or not you're using too much inside information. Now, you'll have a technical deck if you have a technical type of startup. And so I've asked companies all the time, I've said, first I say, is this a screener deck or is this your actual pitching deck, right? And then I'll say, okay, is this going to technical people or non-technical people? And let's delineate. Because often you'll be talking to scouts or you'll be talking to staff that are scrubbing these and they'll go pitch it to the technical person, or the investor's not technical, but understands it and brings in someone that is technical and they want to see the technical pitch deck. They want to see, you know, the white paper or what have you. So get feedback from non-technical people. But Ed, founders say, I only want to pitch people who get it. I understand. And the thing is we get this whole idea in our heads that we want smart money. Define the word smart. Technically, smart money doesn't always happen. It's not always possible. And you want to be getting smart money in the sense of good, solid investment advice money. Money that comes from someone who's really wise with their investment, who can understand, who can not give you the wrong signal and give you confirmation bias by pumping your tires, but will actually tell you, here are the challenges that you're going to face. Let me give you some feedback. And I say get advice because remember, the old adage is, if you want investment, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for investment. So what I always do is I say, hey, can I just get some advice on how I should approach this and how my pitch deck is going? And it's important. Do you understand this as a non-technical person? You're not in crypto. You're not in AI. You're not in whatever tech that you are. Does this make sense to you? Can you get some advice on how to approach other rich people like you? You see what I'm doing there? I'm building the network. So you got a rich mom. She probably knows a rich uncle or a rich realtor or a rich lawyer, or guess what? A rich angel investor. So I say, get advice from non-technical people. It'll help you get lots of feedback. And eventually you'll get enough feedback that you'll know whether your startup is investable or not. So there you have it. That's how we run through pitch decks. Hope this has been helpful. Let us know if you have any questions. And we're always available to discuss, hey, should we include this slide or that slide, and go back from there. But remember, it's only our opinions. We have gotten this wrong many, many times. I've seen some of the craziest pitch decks. And I've said, how did that actually get anybody's attention? Well, it's been because of a relationship where it's been pitched, live. And then I've seen really, really great pitch decks that I totally believe are awesome, don't get a single meeting for various reasons. Again, that's the reason you get feedback from multiple sources. Let us know how we can help. Hope this has been helpful.